Okay, let's see. All right. So, as I kind of put up on my story yesterday, I thought about doing a sort of a test live stream to see if I could actually do this, to see if it would actually work. And as I say, this is very much a test, so I apologize ahead of time or from the past, I guess, about the quality of this, because this is very much a sort of ad hoc plan I had. Basically, I learned that today I would have the house to myself for the afternoon, and then I thought, hey, you know what? One thing I almost never try is live streaming, because fairly often my studio is around other people. Like my studio is this tablet essentially. So it doesn't really work for live streaming. So what I would tend to do is, if I make videos at all, it would be recorded, edited, and then put up later. And I thought, you know what, I'll take this opportunity to actually do this live and see what's happening. And as opposed to just sitting here and sort of just talking about various updates, and there are things to talk about, like there are things regarding Battle in the Art, stuff that's happened last year with RockCon, the finishing of that, and projects after. I thought I'd take this opportunity to try something that I've been meaning to do for quite a bit, but I never get around to it. So I'm using this as a way to force myself to actually put forward a sort of paid crafting tutorial thing. And as I said, this is barely planned, so don't expect too much quality. Also, if people do come on and start interacting, I might stop and start and actually interact with people, because I say I haven't really done live streaming like this before, so it could be it could be the flow gets really weird. But as you can see, I'm actually on my phone right now, and I have it pointing at my iPad, because I had thought about. I did a bit of research yesterday about this. Like I saved this to the last day because, of course, I did. I did a bit of research to see if I could actually stream onto Instagram from my computer, and it turns out you can with the likes of StreamYard. I was like, oh, this is cool. I could do like multi-camera angles. It'd be really cool and professional. And then I looked at the price, and it's like $20 a month to use their service. I'm like, I'm not paying that much money just for extra streaming services, especially since I don't stream more than maybe twice a year. So I'm like, yeah, no, I'm gonna find a cheap or free way to do this. And then I thought, you know what? I have like a tripod that I've connected my phone to, and so instead of having the camera pointing at me, I have it pointing down at my iPad, so that I can talk and actually do stuff at the same time. Also, I don't know how this is going to go, but I'm looking at my screen through the phone. So I'm kind of having a weird out of body experience where I can see what I'm doing, but I'm also like, I can't because the phone's in the way. So I don't know if this will go okay, but I'm procrastinating a bit here. What I'd like to do, sort of as a demo example of something I could try here, I'm going to try and do a little sort of page crafting demo. So basically explain a bit about what I do when I draw or structure a page. And for that, I'm going to use Last Day. So if you don't know, I have been using the past few years working on my own sort of space opera manga, which has appeared in the Rakon manga anthology. So basically, oh god, that was very close. Wow, look at the lighting; it's gone crazy. All right, see what happens when you don't plan a video really well. This kind of stuff happens. Last Day is a manga that I've contributed to the Rock On anthology series with many others in the Rock On gang, and I had made 5 chapters up until the point of Rock On 5, this one here, which then was the last edition in the anthology. But I didn't stop making Last Day. I continued working on it. I had a 6th chapter prepared, which was going to be in Rock On 6 if it had happened. But I'm still working on this series, and there are many chapters, so I decided to continue. And over the past few months, based on feedback from others and from just by working on it too, I have been building up these chapters, and this particular chapter, a lot of it's still under construction. So it's a really good sort of opportunity to show a little bit about how I think when I build a page. Because let's see if I can zoom out here without going completely to hell. If I go to some of the earlier pages, yeah, see what I mean by being weird and out of body? In the earlier pages, things are pretty complete. So line work's in place. You can't really see what I'm thinking. I'd have to explain a bit about how I'm thinking in order to give you a little bit of background on how the page flow goes together and how I make a decision about where an item goes. So what I would tend to do is, what I want to do, in fact, I want to show you the very beginnings of one of these pages. So what I'll do now is I'll go forward several pages to what I was working on earlier this week and what I'm going to do a little bit today. Hopefully, I hope, I have no idea this will go well. Hopefully this will actually be interesting for some people. I don't know. Also, I hope, if I know how to use this right, that I can record it so that it might be something I can use later on or have it on my Instagram feed. So we'll see how this goes. I'm talking a lot, so if anyone has any comments, questions, please don't hesitate. I don't mind at all. As I said, this is very ad hoc. This is very poorly planned. So we'll see how this goes. I think the first thing I want to sort of go into, based on this page I drew just yesterday, and this is a good kind of beginning point because I remember a bit of what I was thinking when I made this page. And there are certain things that are happening on this kind of manga page that I kind of want to go into. And oh, hello. Thank you, Kahlan. You're very kind. Looking awesome. Good. You're very, very kind. I never think that myself, but I'm always appreciated when people say it. I have a very bad sense of my own abilities, but I love it when people are very supportive. And I praise from Caesar. Your stuff is amazing. I really, it's great to hear from that. Okay, what will I do? I will. Oh, and Ian's here too. Cool. What I'll do is first explain a couple of the jobs I attempt to do when I build a page. And there are a couple of jobs here. The very first job, and it's a very basic one, is to get the reader's attention to go from, ooh, thank you. Looks very professional. Jesus, very kind. I get very embarrassed when people say nice things to me. And I'm kind of like, oh no, I can't say. And the thing is, I don't know whether this is an Irish cultural thing or if this is just me, but we're kind of taught to be very humble in a sense. You never sort of brag about what you do, even if you're like the best one in the world. You'll never brag about it. And then when people say you're good, you're kind of like, oh no, I'm not good. You're too nice. We're kind of like that, or at least I am. So thank you very much. Where was I? Yes, job number one is to getting the reader's page for attention, reader's attention from, and I'll use tools to explain it, from here to here. So we're trying to get from this corner to this corner. Yeah, we Norwegians are like that. It is true. I think this is one thing we Irish and Norwegians have in common is that, what is it called? Janteloven? I think, I don't remember, but there is a sort of thing where you can't brag. Even if you're like really good, you can't go around and say, hey, I'm awesome at this. It's just like, no, I'm not good. Even if like you win the World Cup in football or something, you say, no, I'm okay at football. I'm not the expert. I'm just okay. And it's just, it's sort of, you're not allowed to say it. It's just like, you have to be like a little bit humble. And let's see. And I'm getting off track again. Job number one, get your reader's attention from the top left corner to the bottom right corner. Now, here's the thing. We should change that color. I agree. Like, then I maybe could take compliments a lot better. I like giving compliments. That's the thing. I love giving compliments because I especially like encouraging people. But when people do it to me, I'm kind of like, I stop up. No, don't be sorry. This is fun. I like the interaction. This is kind of fun, actually. As I said, it's not a very solid plan I have, so I don't know how well this will go. Basically, one thing to keep in mind, we have a bit of a challenge when we're talking about European languages versus, for example, manga. For Because manga is what I've studied, and with a manga, the Japanese written language kind of goes down in vertical sort of steps like this. So it's a lot easier to get from here to here with your planning, with the likes of the Japanese language and how page flows works there. We have a little bit of a challenge in European languages where everything goes from left to right. So essentially, I'm always going left, right, left, right, left, right. And that's fine. And that's how we read books normally. But it's a very sort of, I think it's kind of an unnatural way to sort of direct your eyes. You're going a lot left to right. Manga will encourage a sort of flow that's nice and natural. It's kind of like sending your eyes to a day spa, if you can think of it that way. And what I'm attempting to do when I draw a sort of Western manga or a European manga is I'm trying my very best with the handicap of a European language to reproduce that page flow. And so when I'm doing that, I keep in mind, and I've used the eraser instead of my pen, I keep in mind that I need to get from this start point to this start point with as few sharp angles as I can manage. And that's usually what's in the back of my head when I start a page. And so, with that in mind, I'm going to show you how I arrange each panel to sort of help with that. So here in this very first establishing shot, we have Naomi, Torben, and Anita. And you'll notice first and foremost that Naomi and Torben are in the foreground. They're designed to grab your attention. So this is the very first thing your eyes are going to look at. That's by position, but also sort of how I've done a sort of camera focus here. These two are in front of you, so your eyes must go here first. They won't wander over here if I put details, which I will do actually. This background's going to be a bit detailed in the future. I want you to be here first and foremost, and then proceed to Anita. So I do that by positioning them here. I'm going to talk a little bit more about what I did here too, because in addition to putting them there, you'll notice that I've put Torben, let's see, I've put his position like this, and I've put Naomi's position like this. And I forget what this is called, but it was a technique I learned from Nao Sensei where you have to sort of arrange everyone in triangles to create a sense of depth. Because you want as much as you can, you want to encourage a sort of, give the idea that there is more depth in the scene than you can't really pull off too much with 2 dimensions, but you can create the sense of depth by using angles. So that's a little extra. It's not necessary for this to work, but it's a little something I do as well. They're in the foreground. And what I'll do next is I will pay attention, very important attention, to where the speech bubbles are located. Because the speech bubbles are really important part of the page flow. As a matter of fact, the speech bubbles are part of the drawing. It's very important not to ignore where they are and what they're doing, because they are part of the drawing. This is another thing I was taught. So when I position each character, I make a point of ensuring that they are in the middle of the flow of where you're looking with your eyes. So you'll notice that Anita here is in the middle of that line. Between this page, this speech bubble, and this speech bubble, she's right there in the middle. So when your eye is reading these speech bubbles, you won't have to like take a detour like this way or this way to see what she's up to. You'll get led right through her position to see what she's actually doing. I'll also add an additional clue to where you're supposed to go, because you'll notice that she's in motion. She's going this way. I've even thrown in, like, you don't see it here, but I've thrown in little kind of steam marks from her coffee. She's holding her coffee. That shows you that she is going this way. And as you'll notice, I want you to go here, to this speech bubble. So that's sort of, I'll throw in, where I can, I will throw in little visual cues to help your eye go towards the next point. And what I'll do next is I'll show you. Now, sometimes I don't manage this well. Sometimes I have no choice, because once you've gotten here, then what's next? It's the last point. You will have to just go to the next part here. Sometimes I don't manage clues, sometimes I will, and I will show you a trick on the next page where I've tried this. But the flow goes from here back to here, and then you'll see that I've positioned Naomi's text here, like so. Let's see, I need the erase button. And I make a point of butting her eyeline here, because again, I want the reader to go from here to here. And this is actually a part of what we do naturally. It's part of why the eyes are so important in cartooning, is that you are naturally drawn to the eyes. That's something we do with people. We naturally look them in the eye if we're interested, or you're supposed to at least. I'm not very good at that myself. And what happens here is that I will try to position the eyes. Ooh, thank you. Someone sent me a thingy. I don't know who did it though. Thank you, whoever it is. I'm drawing and I'm looking at the display. I'm multitasking. Am I doing it well? I don't know yet. We'll see in the recording if I keep it. Anyway, the eyes I will position into the stream of the reader's view. Oh, I've got flame as well. I wish I knew who did this. It doesn't tell you who does it. Oh, thank you again, whoever it is. I do one thing here, which is a bit of a gamble. You'll notice that the flow goes into this speech bubble beside Anita. Anita is outside the flow. I try to avoid this as much as I can, but what I do to try and make up for that is that I will position her eyeline in such a way that it will suggest the next position. You'll also notice that I have a shoulder line going this way too. Now, this is how she normally would have her shoulder in this particular angle, but the job of those two is to send the reader again to the next panel down here. This is the sort of the last point of the page. And this is another important point when you're building a page. Each page, especially in a manga, has to have what we would call essentially the heart of the page, the point of it. The heart of the page isn't necessarily an important part of the narrative or story. It is, however, an important sort of feeling. Each page should have a core feeling. And the feeling I wanted to focus on this page is Torben's surprise that he has spotted this particular poster with Anita's face on it. So this is essentially the main event. This is the main sort of focus of the entire page, as far as I'm concerned. There is other things happening. There are other things that are important. Oh, your style is very recognizable. I notice every time it pops in the feed. Thank you very much. I don't know how I did that though. I always thought my stuff was like a derivative copy of certain other manga, but I don't know. Somehow I managed to stumble into a style. I don't know why. But yeah, it's fun. It's fun to think that I can be. I think there was a guy who used to review stuff in Japan, American who lives there, and he managed to recognize my stuff like without my name on it either. And I was like, how did you do that? I just make generic manga, like Western style manga. I didn't think I'd be recognizable, but I guess it is. Thank you very much. I do really appreciate that comment too. It gives me some hope that maybe there is something to this style I draw. What do we say? Where was I? Harold, oh, you're far too kind. Harold's saying that I'm awesome. I'm okay. I managed to exist, but thank you for saying I'm awesome, Harold. Oh, you are awesome for saying that. You are far too awesome. By the way, Harold has cameoed in several of my web manga because we've been friends for years, and he encourages me a lot. It's Harold's fault, by the way, so everyone knows, that I ended up in this manga series. He was the one who got me to take part in the Outland manga competition a few years ago. I wasn't going to do it. I was like, no, I'm not good enough. It's going to be bad. He's like, oh, do it. And so I did. And by pure dumb luck, I ended up getting published with Outland Forlag. It was really kind of like, wow. And I was very sort of, it's kind of a case in point that you should always try to take part in competitions because you never know when you might actually get somewhere with one. Even if you think you won't win, always take part in a competition because it's quite thank you, Harold. You're saying you're welcome. I'd say it's always important. Don't sell yourself short. I've done it before. I haven't taken part in competitions because I've done that. And like, even if you don't have a shot of winning, just do it. You know, epic friend. It's true, Colin. He is an epic friend. That is the best description I've heard in a while. And a salute too. Very, very well done. Anyway, sort of to surmise what's going on this page. As I said, the entire sort of basis of my planning is to try and get as natural a flow as possible down to here. Now, it does kind of turn into a sharp angle here once I get to this part, but I think my main goal on this particular kind of page is to get the reader down to here, and then thereafter I can work on the flow of that scene. So unfortunately, because of the limitations, as I mentioned, of European languages, we do have to go a bit left to right. So I will kind of settle for having a stop mid-page if I have to, but I try my best to avoid it. And so, what I thought about doing for the sort of second half of this is to go forward to a sort of work in progress, something I'm still working on today. I was working on until earlier today, and I decided to not finish because I wanted to show a little bit of what I do under sort of construction while I'm actually doing the work. Now, again, our goals, we have two goals here. We have to check I'm in the right layer. Selecting the page also could help. All right, I have my edit layer put up. So we have two goals. We have to get from here to here, and we also have to do it in a flow. Now, I've already started this because, like I mentioned earlier, each manga page has a sort of emotional center, a heart, an important panel which says an awful lot about the theme of the page, but also an important character beat or sort of, how do we say, I guess just a feeling we want to kind of get out from the character. And that important panel in this page is here in the middle. It's actually the first panel I drew was here in the middle. Like logically you'd think, okay, I will start up here and start this and go down there. Sometimes I will, but it's quite important to get the emotional heart of the page right. Both for the fact that this is the most, I feel, the most important panel on the page, but also because if I get this page right, it's a lot easier to be motivated to continue drawing the page. Once you know where you're going and what you're coming from, it's so much easier to stay on plan and to actually complete the page too. Excuse me, I'll take a bit of coffee while we're talking. Okay, so a little bit about this one. I will rarely do a profile of a character. For one, because it's a bloody nightmare to get right, especially with manga characters. For another, is that I like to save the profiles. Let's see, I just gave him a little push, which is all he needed. I did need it. That was true, Harold. I did need a push. I always need pushes. Well, I try to push myself. I'm getting better at that, a little bit better. I hope I am. We'll see what happens. But Harold helped me out by pushing me. Where was I? Yes, I save profiles for sort of high emotion scenes. And let's see, do I have a good example? I kept some Raccoons nearby. We'll see if I can manage to do this. The covers don't turn out well with the light, but the here we go. Here's a good. I say here we go, and then I don't have it. I have a sort of an example here. It's an example I wanted to use, and I'm stalling for time. It's sort of when I do sort of high emotion scenes. So this is a Rock-On printed copy. You'll notice that I'm kind of focusing on Anita here again. And this is her sort of, her exasperation. She is extremely exasperated. And what I'm going to show you in this panel are a couple of things which I feel are important when you focus on a face like this. Now, I've saved this page for her frustration also because I have a lot of text on each side. And you'll notice what I said about earlier about keeping the eye line in the middle of a flow. Well, I'll show you what I'm doing here. So in this page, I had planned text here and text here. So when we flow through the page, we're going to have the eye right in the middle there. And I need the line tools. Again, the eye is an important focus of where the reader's going to look through. But in addition to that, just as a little tip, a little something that I didn't realize I do, but it looks like I do, is that the eye should really live in the middle of the flow, like so. This is like by accident or practice, I'm not sure, but the available space we have for the character is essentially here. This is our available space for the character. And the eye is kind of dead in the center, so you get a nice little sort of breathing room on both ends of the text here in the middle. So that the thing is, and I'm derailing myself quite a bit here. The thing is, one thing that you don't want to do is you don't want to crowd the drawing too much. If you crowd the drawing, you're giving the eye a lot more work to do. If you keep everything sort of well spaced out and well sort of paced, your eye is going to have a lot easier time reading the text, looking at the expression, following on to the next bit of text. It's going to be a lot less sort of dramatic, or one word that Nasensei used for me was oppressive. That's the word. It's less oppressive if you are giving your reader's eyes an easier time. So this is kind of an important point, that you give enough room between the important elements of character and the text bubbles, because reading and looking are slightly different things, slightly. And giving the readers, that's the thing. This is another message, another lesson from that sensei that I always have in my head when I build a page. And she always told this to me: be kind to the reader, be kind to them. So be nice to your reader so that they don't have a hard time reading. Don't let them guess. Don't give them too much work. Their own mind is creating a lot of the scene already. And if you give them less work to do when they're reading the page, their imagination will have a lot more freedom to do what it can do, because it's an extremely powerful graphics card, is the human imagination. So if you give it enough clues and enough space to work, they'll read it, they'll experience the scene, and they will hopefully enjoy it more, which I think is part of why manga is so much enjoyable to read compared to maybe a Western comic, which, by the way, I do enjoy Western comics. It's just I don't enjoy them as much as manga, because I don't know, it could be because of a lot of these principles that manga is just so much more refreshing to read compared to a Western comic, like, for example, DC or Marvel. But that said, I love, for example, Belgian comics. I think they are usually delightful to read, even though they have the Western formatting. Okay, there's a couple of things that happen on this page. So we go back a bit. I want to maintain a flow. So starting here, ending here, I notice that I have a flow here, and then we come to Anita's face. So I've done a couple of things here, because the goal is to get back this way, down to the next panel. And I've done a couple of tricks here to sort of get the reader to go this way. Now, the first thing is they will go to the face. The eyes are the important elements. They will naturally go to Anita's eyes at this point. They'll give it an extra clue by having this little bit of text here, which goes, ah. So going here to here, easy, no trouble. But I want them to start down here, back down to the very important panel in the center of the page. And to do that, I have given them two clues. The first is a coffee mug. Now, she was already holding the coffee mug. What I've done is I've brought the coffee mug forward into the foreground so that you can see it more detailed. So they'll come directly to the foreground, but in addition, her torso is leaned forward. So you're going to follow her torso line this way when you're reading. So it's giving you an extra clue to go this way instead of hanging around. So what we end up doing then is we go to here, and as I said, the next point is through her eyes and down here. And then thereafter, we have another clue. Because after we've gone through that text line, we end up here in this part. And you'll notice again, Torben here, he's just outside the flow of text. But we need a clue to get the reader to go this way. So what we'll notice is that his eyes are going that way too. So his entire body language kind of points you down here, back over to what would be the beginning of this scene. So with that in mind, we need to do a few changes to this page to make it work. So what I will do is I will just take away some of these lines. You'll notice that this text box here is way out in space. It's nowhere near the line that I want to use with Anita. So in this kind of situation, I will be inclined to move over to here. That way, I know it's in the line of text. That means also that all the elements that will be connected to that need to be down here. And that's what I will do. Now, there are a few other things I will do to make certain that the reader's eye line will come back up to here later. So what I promised earlier is that I would actually start to draw some of the planning. But after I've moved the speech bubble into the line, then I need to actually plan where I'll put characters in the scene. So what I'll do is I'll switch to my sketch layer, and I will go back to, I usually use blue for this. The two characters that were planned in this scene were Torben and Naomi. So one thing I know for certain is that I will have a text bubble. So we'll just do a rough text bubble for now. We'll use up about this much space. And I'm going to position Torben here. So what we'll do is I will just very roughly, now I will do a more detailed sort of, do a more detailed anatomy later on. But what I will do here is I will first establish Torben's face and very importantly, what kind of emotion he's going to have. Now, this is really weird to draw through the iPhone because I'm looking at the phone doing this. We'll see how it goes. As I said, this is only a sketch. I will do a final later, which will look more presentable. So Torben's face is like so. He's kind of got a quizzical expression. And a quizzical expression is usually sort of the one eyebrow down, one eyebrow up. It's kind of like what the damn hell expression that we'll use. I'll probably go for something else, but what I need to do is also kind of link this back to the previous page. Because in the previous page, he was facing towards the walls here, because there are walls. So what I need to make certain so that it doesn't sort of jolt the reader a bit, I need to position his body so that he's still somewhat facing that direction. So there's sort of a flow from there. So I'm going to start building his anatomy. And for that, I will usually first do the upper torso. By that I mean his rib cage, essentially. When I draw a character, I will usually do the rib cage first, because the rib cage will give you a sense of volume for the character, and it will also help you plan like additional limbs. For example, I'm going to put in his shoulder blades here, because he's going to have his shoulders. And once we've got the rib cage planned out, because I'll do that in more detail later, but the rib cage will give me a suggestion of where the clothes will actually land onto him and other elements. But it also gives me a basis of where we put in his midsection, and then attached to the midsection we have the hip. And since he's pointing this way, the hip will usually kind of flatten out here and go back that way. And as part of the hip, we will start actually building the leg joint as well, because the leg joint and the hip are the same thing really. And one thing that I usually struggle a bit with is to figure out sort of arm positioning. So this is something that I might end up modifying later. Is what I'll do this. Now let's see. Here's the thing. I'm thinking real time here. He's going to be gesturing to the wall, so we should really have an arm out in this section here to explain that, hey, what the hell is this about? That's kind of like we're thinking here. So I will sort of, when you're doing that, you kind of have the palm out like this, kind of the damn hell is this about? Again, as I said, this is a rough draft of the positioning more than anything else, so I will do a less crappy job of this later on. But sort of doing the like, there's a sort of what the damn hell face as well. And then I'll usually clip in the ears, like a better job than that with clipping in the ears. Torben's face is built around a sort of, I don't know what you call this particular hairstyle. I just like the idea of having a sort of spiky hair like this. I felt it was very distinctive. I don't usually do male hairstyles very well, so I needed to sort of experiment a bit and see what would work best, what would be very distinctive. At one point, what would give him a very unique silhouette compared to the other characters I draw. So we go like that. And as I said, this is this is more looking. He looks very drawn out, doesn't he? I will definitely be fixing that later. But, let's see. We will clear away. We will clear away that disaster of an arm and do it later, I think. Actually, this seems like a hands on hip situation, isn't it? I do think so. Again, this is something I will sort out later. What I would like to do, because the important point here isn't that the anatomy positioning of Torben. It's what I'm going to do with their positioning of the characters, because Torben's front and center here. But in the background, I'm going to draw Naomi. So we'll get a little Naomi in the background. There's a couple of reasons I'm going to draw her small. So we'll go like this, which is going to look a little bit nondescript in the background here. Not going to be doing too much compared to Naomi. Normally, Naomi has a lot of focus in the story, but she's not going to do much in this scene because there's a reason why I'm making her small here. So just give her a torso as well. So same, do a rib cage. She's going to be dead on 1-1. So we have rib cage, midsection, getting a memory ward. Wow. When you do a dead on rib section, you can just do that and throw in the like very, very rough anatomy work there. In rib section, Naomi's hair, well, actually, before we do Naomi's hair, we usually sort out her space wings. So we do like so. The space wings just clip over the ears, like so. Again, something we will fix later when I do the more details thing. She has a sort of pan cut with a split in it. She also has earrings. And she has like straight hair that cuts this way. And I think because she's a bit unsure of herself, she's kind of one trick I like to do when a character's unsure of themselves is I would like them to sort of grip their arm like so. Going like this, that means one arm will sort of rest on the side, like so. And then we go like this. And this is our view. Now you'll see what I'm doing here is that she's smaller. That means she's further in the background. But also it's because in this particular scene, she's feeling smaller. You'd have to read the chapter to understand what I'm doing there. But if I go back to my edit layer, you will see that this is where the flow is going. It's going from here to here. So even if your eye sort of wanders down this way, you'll be sent right back into the line of reading through this speech bubble. So that's kind of one trick I'll use to sort of show a certain amount of like theme in a page, but also to sort of, if I have to derail you from the main line, I can get you back here by using like the arrangement of the characters to get over to this part here. Now I would also thereafter, and this is very, very important in page design, is that later on, I intend for Naomi and Torben to be here in the background, behind Anita. So what I would do, and I'll do this also very roughly, so that's because this video's already gone on quite longer than I thought it would. What I will do is I will plan Torben. Okay, we can do a sort of basic. No, we do this properly. We plan Torben to be here. So we'll do a sort of very basic torso layout for Torben.
That's why. I'm not using the proper pencil, am I? I'm using the marker. Okay, much better. So make sure the character is actually focusing on music. So we go like so. When they're far away, I will tend to actually reduce the eyes to these little kind of notches here. And what I will then do is I will draw like so, like so. And I will just give him his anatomy. Again, I will do this really very quickly. So scrap this all hell, I'll just leave out the arms. Just position him a bit more. This is Torben. I want to just make an important positioning point here. So I'll move him up a bit because he is way too low. One thing I like about digital drawing, you can just do this. I think after this, I'm going to actually stop the live stream because I am losing my voice. Thereafter, we will have Naomi, and she will be like so, or better than that, maybe. I need to get used to drawing in public because it really throws me off. But I'm kind of like, yeah. As soon as I do it in public, I kind of screw up immensely. Okay, like so. It's a Naomi design. She has a little sort of clip in the back, ears. Again, we do basic torso design. Just to give you an idea that Naomi's here. Nothing more than that. Very roughly. See, one thing that's quite important when you arrange characters, and I do this as much as possible, if at all possible, is I will always make certain that the characters are in the same position no matter what. So Naomi takes position 1, Torben takes position 2, that's supposed to look like a 2, takes position 2, Anita takes position 3. So that when they're in a scene together, you will always get 1, 2, 3. That way, because when you actually see a couple of characters together, your brain will sort of put them in their places. If you start shuffling them, that will give your eyes and brain more work to do than really necessary. So it's it's quite important. It's a good idea to make certain that the characters are always in the same position when they do this, and try to shuffle them as little as possible. Sometimes you have to, but try to avoid it as much as you can, and then your readers will have a much easier time keeping track of the action or the positioning, or just in general, they'll have a much easier time reading the work. And those are kind of my tips on page structure. I just to give a sort of final point on the flow of this page. Basically, you can see I'm kind of going from here through here, down here, and back, and there would be a final sort of panel here at the end, sort of to round off the page. And that is how I would structure this page, and that's how I am structuring this page. So once it's finished, I will then move on to inking and toning, and yeah, then it's a done page. And yeah, so I think that's about as much as I can pull off for this stream. I didn't really have much of a plan after this. I think I was going to just talk a bit about basically what I've been up to since the end of Rock On, because I've been trying to sort of continue work on Last Day after Rock On to see if I can make something more of it. And there is plans. There's plans to try and do that, and I'm going to continue. And I've been, I've had a lot of really cool interactions with the rest of the Rock On gang, and also the awesome people out in Forlag, people who made Rock On. Who have, if you've called me on social media, you've seen the posts I made last year about that. Like, truly awesome group of people. I can't believe still that they were the first publisher I've ever worked with, and they happen to be like the most awesome gang as well. I think that's what I'll end up missing the most about Rock On, is working with them in like regularly. It's mostly the fact that they're fun to work with, and that's why I still try and keep in contact, because I like them. They're good people, and I will continue to do that. And in the meantime, I'm going to continue cartooning, because that's what I've always done, and I'm going to continue doing too. And I would like to thank everyone who turned up for the stream. I don't think there's anyone on the stream right now, so I don't expect any questions. But if there are any in the last couple of seconds, I will, of course, take them. But if not, then I will very briefly wrap up this live stream. And I hope this is not something I end up having to delete from my reel. If not, it's going to be here, and if people actually liked this, I might attempt to do another one, if there's any value to it at all. So, thank you again, and in the next couple of seconds, I will close the stream. I hope you all have a good weekend further, and also Easter holiday if you are already on holiday. I know a lot of people are, especially here in Norway. Yeah, otherwise, all the best, everyone, and I'll talk to you again next time.